The massive doors to the Galactic Council chamber parted with a deep, resonant hum. Lisa Porter felt her heart hammering in her chest as she led the small human delegation forward. The chamber was cavernous, larger than any structure humans had ever built. Its curved walls rose hundreds of feet upward, ending in a transparent dome that revealed the swirling nebula beyond. Around them, thousands of alien representatives watched from tiered seating that circled the central speaking platform. Each species had their own section, some requiring special atmospheres contained within shimmer fields, others needing high gravity or low gravity environments. The air was filled with a subtle mixture of scents, some pleasant, others decidedly not. This was humanity's first appearance before the full Galactic Council since the discovery of Earth 3 months ago. Lisa straightened her formal diplomatic uniform and stepped onto the speaker platform. Her 3 companions, Marine Captain Diane Foster, Science Advisor Kate Wilson, and Trade Specialist Alan Brooks followed close behind. They looked impossibly small in the vast chamber. The Grand Speaker, a towering insectoid with iridescent wings and compound eyes that shifted through rainbow hues, tapped a crystalline rod against the floor. The sound echoed unnaturally loud, silencing the murmurs of thousands of alien representatives. The humans of Earth seek recognition before this council. The Grand Speaker announced, his voice translated simultaneously into the thousands of languages used by council members. We will hear their petition. Lisa took a deep breath and stepped forward. The platform beneath her feet illuminated, responding to her presence. A holographic display appeared, showing Earth rotating slowly. Representatives of the Galactic Council. She began, her voice steady despite her fear. My name is Lisa Porter, Chief Diplomat of Earth. We come before you today, not as supplicants but as equals. A ripple of sound passed through the chamber. Some representatives chittered, others growled or whistled in what could only be interpreted as laughter. The Drokon delegation, massive reptilians with armored hides and multiple eyes, rose from their seats. The Drokon speaker hissed through translators. This is absurd. These humans have barely mastered basic space travel. They have no standing here. Their world should be categorized as a protectorate at best or a resource world. At worst, Lisa had expected this. The Drokons had been the first to discover Earth, their massive ships appearing in orbit without warning. Their initial scans had revealed a technologically limited species with few defenses against a spacefaring civilization. Captain Foster stepped forward, her military bearing evident. Interesting that the Drokons speak of our limitations, yet they were quite eager to establish exclusive mining rights in our solar system, almost as if they hoped to exploit a world before proper council introduction. Protocols were followed. The Grand Speaker turned his compound eyes toward the Drokon delegation. Is this true? The Drokon speaker hissed again. We were merely assessing the system, as is our right, Science Advisor. Wilson activated a small device she held in the center of the platform. A new hologram appeared, showing recorded footage from Earth's orbital defense satellites. It displayed Drokon mining ships already extracting resources from Jupiter's moons, according to Council Regulation 473. Section 9 First Contact Protocols require immediate notification of the Council when a new sentient species is discovered. The Science Advisor stated, the Drokons discovered Earth 63 days ago, yet filed no report. They also began resource extraction operations without consent. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sounds. The Grand Speaker tapped his crystal rod again multiple times before order was restored. This is a serious accusation, he said. The Drokon speaker rose to his full 12-foot height. The humans are lying. They have no proof of the timeline. We only discovered them recently. Trade Specialist Brooks stepped forward, activating another holographic display. This one showed communication logs with timestamps. These were recovered from a damaged Drokon scout ship that crashed in our Pacific Ocean. The logs clearly show the Drokons discovered Earth 3 months ago and immediately began planning resource extraction. The Grand Speaker's compound eyes shifted toward the Drokons. You may verify these records. A small hovering drone approached, examined the data. then return to the Grand Speaker. The information appears authentic. Grand Speaker. The Drocon delegation buzzed with angry hisses. Lisa. Porter stepped forward again. This violation of Council protocols is precisely why Earth deserves full recognition. We come before you today because the Drocons left us no choice. We had to accelerate our formal introduction or risk having our system stripped of resources without representation. The Vordan delegation rose next. Their bodies were amorphous masses of translucent tissue pulsing with bioluminescent light. They rarely spoke at council meetings. The fact that they chose to now sent ripples of surprise through the chamber. The human petition is unprecedented. A melodious voice translated from the lead. Vordan. The council has procedures for integrating new species, a period of observation technology, sharing cultural exchange. These humans seek to circumvent these processes. Lisa nodded respectfully to the Vordan. Under normal circumstances, we would welcome such a transition period. However, the Drocons' actions forced our hand. We cannot accept protectorate status when it is clear some council members view Earth as merely a resource to be exploited. A new delegation rose. The Athid Collective with their hive mind and crystalline exoskeletons. We have reviewed the humans' petition. What evidence do you offer that your species deserves immediate recognition? You lack faster than light travel. Your weapons technology is primitive and you control only a single planetary system. This was the moment Lisa had prepared for, what made humans worthy of standing among species that had traveled. The stars for millennia humanity offers something unique to the Council. She said, we reviewed your historical archives provided by those council members who respected proper contact protocols. Our analysts discovered something surprising. The Galactic Council, despite its enormous technological advantages, has been at an impasse on major decisions for over 200 years. Your technological advancement has slowed. Economic growth across member systems has stagnated. Diplomatic initiatives have failed. The chamber grew quiet. Humans excel at innovation. Lisa continued. We evolved on a challenging world, forcing us to adapt quickly. We developed thousands of distinct cultures and governance systems, experimenting with countless approaches to problem solving. Where many council species seek consensus, we thrive on constructive disagreement and rapid iteration. Lisa gestured and a new hologram appeared, showing Earth's diverse nations and peoples. From the outside, our political divisions might seem like weakness, she said. But this diversity of thought has driven our rapid advancement from primitive technology to space exploration. In less than 10,000 years, a pace that analysis suggests is unusually rapid. The Athid representative tilted its crystalline head. What exactly are you offering? Captain Foster stepped forward. Military strategy, she said bluntly. Our species has unfortunately excelled at warfare. We have developed tactics and strategies that your military analysts have never considered, because we fought among ourselves rather than against a common external threat. Science advisor Wilson added. Scientific methodology. Our approach to experimentation and theoretical modeling differs from council standard practices. Our scientists have already identified inefficiencies in your propulsion systems, based solely on observing your ship's trade. Specialist Brooks spoke next. Economic revitalization. Human markets operate on principles of controlled creative destruction, allowing for rapid redistribution of resources to emerging innovations. Our economic models predict we could increase council economic growth by 17%. Within 5 years of integration, Lisa took center stage again. The Drocon violation of protocols was unfortunate, but it brought us here sooner rather than later. Earth requests full council membership, not because we match your technological level, but because we offer perspectives and approaches you currently lack. The Grand Speaker was silent for a long moment. We will need to deliberate on this unusual petition. The council will recess and reconvene in one rotation. The human delegation was escorted from the chamber to a waiting area. The moment the doors closed behind them, Lisa let out a shaky breath. Did we make an impression, she asked. Captain Foster nodded. They listened. That alone is significant. The Drokons clearly wanted to keep us a secret to exploit our system, Science Advisor. Wilson looked thoughtful. The Grand Speaker seemed intrigued. But the Council is notoriously conservative. It could take years for them to decide trade. Specialist Brooke shook his head. We don't have years. The Drokons or another opportunistic species could simply decide to take what they want from Earth before the Council makes a decision. Lisa paced the small room. We need a contingency plan, something that demonstrates our value immediately, something they can't ignore. Captain Foster checked that their waiting room wasn't being monitored then, lowered her voice. I think it's time for Plan Omega. The others looked at her with surprise. Are we authorized to implement that? Lisa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The president was clear it was absolute last resort. Captain Foster nodded grimly. If the Council denies our petition, the Drokons will take it as permission to continue operations in our system. They have the firepower to simply take what they want. We need to show the Council why that would. The Council chamber seemed even larger when filled to capacity. Olivia Mason stood rigid beside her fellow human representatives as thousands of alien delegates watched from their tiered seats. The massive curved view screens that dominated the wall behind the central podium displayed images of Earth rotating peacefully in space. Grand Speaker Thawes towered over the human delegation, his mantis-like forelimbs gesturing as he addressed the assembly. The Council has reviewed the petition from Earth, he announced, his voice booming through translation systems. For an emerging species to request immediate full membership is unprecedented. Olivia exchanged glances with Science Director Paul Wright and Military Liaison Greg Hudson. They had spent weeks preparing for this moment, the culmination of humanity's first official diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council. The Rostak delegation rose, their scaled bodies glistening under the chamber's lights. These humans have barely achieved basic interplanetary travel, the Rostak representative hissed. They control only a single star system. Their technology is primitive at best. Their military power, non-existent. Their petition is absurd. Murmurs of agreement rippled through sections of the assembly. Several delegations flashed bioluminescent patterns that the translation systems identified as expressions of amusement or derision. Olivia stepped forward to the central podium. Representatives of the Council. She began, her voice steady. My name is Olivia Mason, lead ambassador from Earth. We acknowledge the unusual nature of our petition, but ask that you consider the unique circumstances that brought us here. She activated the holographic controls. The display shifted, showing the massive Rostak mining vessels that had appeared in Earth's solar system 3 months earlier. Without warning or introduction, as you can see, Earth did not seek out the Council. The Rostak found us. Yet contrary to Council first contact protocols, they did not notify the Council of their discovery. Instead, they began unauthorized mining operations in our system, specifically in our asteroid belt and outer planets. The Rostak representative rose again, his neck frills extending in anger. These are false accusations. Military Liaison. Hudson stepped forward, activating another display. This showed recorded transmissions between Rostak vessels. We intercepted these communications, he said. Our quantum decryption specialist broke your encryption. I believe Council regulations require all members to share first contact data immediately. Yet these logs show you deliberately concealed your discovery of Earth. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sounds. Some species clicking mandibles, others hooting or whistling in what translation suggested was surprise or outrage. The Grand Speaker raised his crystalline staff, striking it against the floor. The sound reverberated unnaturally loud. Silencing the chamber order, he commanded, the Council takes accusations of protocol violations seriously. We will review this evidence. Science Director Wright stepped forward. We have more to share, he said, activating another holographic display. This showed technical schematics of Rostak mining equipment. The Rostak mining techniques involve plasma drills that destabilize planetary rings and asteroid fields, creating debris that would threaten Earth. Yet they implemented no safety protocols. Their operations would have eventually created debris fields that threatened our planet. A new delegation rose, the Meridian Collective, their bioluminescent jelly-like bodies pulsing with light. This explains the human petition they communicated through a translator, but does not justify immediate full membership. Most species undergo centuries of protectorate status before consideration for membership. Olivia nodded respectfully to the Meridian representative. Under normal circumstances, Earth would welcome a gradual integration, but protectorate status would leave us vulnerable to continued exploitation. The Roztak clearly view our system as a resource to be harvested, not as the home of a sovereign species. The Vandar delegation, tall, elegant beings with crystalline growths protruding from their silver skin, addressed the council. The humans make a compelling case regarding Roztak violations. However, protocol exists for a reason. New species require guidance, cultural adjustment, technological oversight. The humans simply are not ready, Olivia felt, a flash of frustration, but kept her expression neutral. If I may, she said, we have reviewed the historical records provided during preliminary information exchange. What we found was surprising. She activated a new display showing graphs and statistical models. The Galactic Council has existed for over 12,000 years. Yet technological advancement has slowed dramatically in the past 2 millennia. Economic growth has stagnated across member systems. Military doctrine has remained largely unchanged for centuries. A low rumble of disapproval moved through the chamber. Olivia continued. Our analysis suggests the Council has reached a state of cultural homeostasis. All member species have aligned their thinking and methodologies, leading to stability, but also stagnation. Earth offers something valuable precisely because we are different. Director Wright stepped forward. Our scientific methodologies developed in isolation from Council influence. We approach problems from fundamentally different perspectives. For example, our preliminary analysis of your standard FTL drive systems identified 17 potential efficiency improvements that your engineers overlooked, not from lack of skill, but from standardized thinking patterns. Military Liaison Hudson added, our military history, while regrettably violent, has forced us to develop unique strategic and tactical doctrines. We evolved fighting other humans, not external threats. This created entirely different approaches to conflict, resolution, and security. Olivia gestured to the assembled council. Earth does not deserve membership because we match your technological level. We deserve membership because we offer cognitive and cultural diversity that the council currently lacks, something that could benefit all members. The Grand Speaker conferred with several senior representatives before addressing the chamber again. The council acknowledges the seriousness of the Roztak protocol violations. If proven, a formal inquiry will be launched. However, this does not automatically justify the human petition for full membership. The Roztak representative rose again. This entire presentation is manipulation, he snarled. These humans are primitive and deceptive. They should be quarantined, not welcomed. Olivia watched as the council seemed to divide, some representatives nodding in agreement with the Roztak, others appearing thoughtful at the human arguments. This was the critical moment. Ambassador, she said, addressing the Grand Speaker, we understand the council's hesitation. Allow us to demonstrate our value more concretely. We propose a challenge. The chamber grew quieter. Earth will present the council with 3 problems that have resisted solution. 1 scientific, 1 economic, 1 diplomatic, she explained. We will provide novel approaches to each. If our solutions demonstrate merit, we ask for provisional membership with a pathway to full status. If not, we will accept protectorate designation. The Grand Speaker tilted his massive head, considering unusual but not without precedent. The council has occasionally allowed demonstration of exceptional ability. What problems would you address? Director Wright spoke. The Calistan. Nebula power fluctuations. No council. Research team has successfully stabilized the quantum field variances, despite centuries of attempts. Our scientists believe we have a solution. Hudson added the ongoing border dispute between the Pelian Confederation and the Dorax Republic, which has resisted mediation for 300 years. We can propose a resolution framework that satisfies both parties. Olivia finished. And the resource distribution crisis in the Outer Rim colonies. Our economists have developed a new model that could increase production by 28% while reducing resource conflicts. The council chambers filled with sounds of discussion translation systems struggling to keep up with thousands of simultaneous conversations. The Grand Speaker raised his staff for silence. The council will consider this proposal. We will recess for deliberation. As the human delegation was escorted from the chamber, Olivia finally allowed herself to release the breath she'd been holding. That went better than expected, Hudson said quietly. Wright nodded. They seemed genuinely intrigued by our offer, especially the scientific delegation. Olivia wasn't so sure. Did you see the Rostak representatives? They were furious. This challenge might have bought us time, but it also made us powerful enemies. The door to their waiting area opened and a council attendant entered. The council requests your presence, Ambassador Mason. The Grand Speaker wishes to speak with you privately. Olivia glanced at her colleagues. This wasn't part of protocol. They'll be fine, she assured them. When dealing with new species, it's best to be flexible. She followed the attendant through winding corridors deeper into the council station. Finally, they arrived at a small chamber with a single occupant, not the Grand Speaker, but a being she'd never seen before. The creature was humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin shifted colors like oil on water. Its eyes were multifaceted like an insect's, yet warm and expressive. Ambassador Mason, the being said, its voice melodious. Please be seated. Who are you? Olivia asked, remaining standing. You are not the Grand Speaker. The council chamber fell silent as Amanda Walsh stepped onto the central platform. Her heart pounded against her ribs, but she maintained a calm exterior. The curved walls rose hundreds of meters above, dotted with environmental bubbles containing thousands of alien representatives from across the galaxy. All eyes, tentacles, sensory organs, and various perception apparatus focused on the small human delegation. The Grand Arbiter, a massive being with crystalline growths and multiple limbs raised, a glowing staff. The 3 trials begin, he announced, his voice translated into all council languages. The humans of Earth have proposed to solve problems that have challenged the council for generations. Their success or failure will determine their status among us. Amanda straightened her formal diplomatic uniform, glancing briefly at her team chief scientist, Robert Miller, Fleet Commander Natalie Boyd, and Economic Advisor Daniel Lewis stood at attention behind her. They represented the best of humanity sent to prove their species worthy of recognition. The humans will face the Trilaxian energy crisis. The Grand Arbiter continued. A star system on the brink of catastrophic failure. The main display activated, showing a dying star system. The primary sun, a red giant, was expanding rapidly, threatening to engulf 3 inhabited worlds. Billions of lives at stake. This system has defied our solutions for 2 centuries. The Arbiter explained. Evacuation is ongoing, but at current rates only. 30% of the population can be saved before stellar collapse. The rest face extinction. The Vraxian delegation rose, their tentacled bodies pulsing with bioluminescent patterns of skepticism. The finest minds in the galaxy have failed to solve this crisis. They communicated through translation devices. These humans barely understand basic stellar mechanics. How could they possibly succeed where we have failed? Amanda stepped forward confidently. We have reviewed the data provided to us and believe we have identified an approach not yet attempted by council scientists. She nodded to Chief Scientist Miller, who activated a holographic display. The display showed complex mathematical formulas and engineering schematics. The council has attempted to stabilize the star using gravitational dampeners and energy siphons, Miller explained. These approaches treat the symptoms, not the cause. Our analysis suggests the star's instability stems from quantum resonance disruptions in its core. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some dismissive, others curious. Miller continued. We propose a network of quantum stabilization devices positioned at specific nodal points around the star. These would create a resonance field that counters the destabilizing harmonics. In effect, we would be tuning the star like a musical instrument. The Vraxian representative rippled with patterns that translated as derision absurd. The energy requirements alone make this impossible. Commander Boyd stepped forward. That would be true using conventional power sources, she said. But Earth has developed theoretical models for harvesting zero-point energy from quantum vacuum fluctuations. She activated another display showing engineering plans for a device. Unlike anything in Council records, we call it Project Prometheus. Boyd explained, it can generate the required energy by creating localized regions of altered quantum states, effectively borrowing energy from parallel probability states. The chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives dismissed the proposal as fantasy. Others leaned forward with evident interest. The Grand Arbiter raised his staff for silence. You propose theory, humans? We require proof. Amanda nodded. We anticipated this. She said we brought prototype components that can be assembled and tested under Council supervision. Give us 48 hours to demonstrate a working model. The Grand Arbiter consulted with senior representatives before responding. Granted, you will have access to Council facilities. Begin immediately. The display shifted, showing a different problem. The second trial concerns the Nexus Trade Corridor dispute. The Arbiter announced, 87 worlds claim conflicting rights to this vital trade. Root negotiations have failed for 3 centuries. Economic advisor Lewis stepped forward. We have studied the economic models and territorial claims, he said. The fundamental problem isn't resource allocation, but perception of fairness. He activated a display showing a complex network of trade routes connecting hundreds of star systems. Our solution introduces a mathematical model we call adaptive equity. Lewis explained. It dynamically allocates route access based on multiple weighted factors, including historical usage, population, need, economic impact, cultural significance, and crisis response requirements. The display showed the model running with trade flows shifting and adapting in real time. No fixed allocation can satisfy all parties, Lewis continued. But our system continuously recalculates optimal distribution responding to changing conditions. It replaces static allocation with dynamic response. All parties would receive optimal access when they truly need it most. The Keldor, representative of being made of what appeared to be living crystal rose. This seems promising in theory. But how would enforcement work? Such a system would require all parties to surrender sovereignty over their sections of the corridor. Lewis nodded. That is correct. Which is why we propose administration by an independent AI overseen by representatives from all involved systems. The AI would operate transparently according to the agreed parameters with no hidden functions. Amanda added, we understand. Sovereignty concerns Earth itself, has hundreds of nations with complex territorial claims. Our history shows that neutral administration of shared resources can work when all parties have transparent oversight. The Grand Arbiter studied the proposal. The Council will evaluate this concept. The human delegation will provide detailed specifications for review. The display shifted again, showing the third challenge. The final trial concerns the quantum plague that has resisted our medical science. For 7 decades, the Arbiter explained, it adapts to every treatment, rendering our medical technology useless. 42 worlds are currently under quarantine. Millions suffer. The display showed horrifying images of affected beings, their bodies, deteriorating at the cellular level. The Maraxian medical delegation rose. These humans have no advanced medical technology. They stated, how could they possibly address a quantum-level pathogen that our greatest minds cannot cure? Chief Scientist Miller stepped forward again. The quantum plague isn't a conventional disease, he explained. It's a self-replicating pattern that corrupts organic matter at the quantum level. Our analysis suggests it's not natural, but engineered. This statement caused another uproar in the chamber. The Grand Arbiter demanded silence. Miller continued, we believe this is why conventional treatments fail. The plague was designed to adapt to specific types of countermeasures, but Earth has developed different approaches to medicine. Some surprisingly simple. He activated a display showing molecular structures. The key insight came from studying ancient Earth remedies, Miller explained. Some natural compounds from our world operate on principles that differ fundamentally from Council medical science. We discovered that certain plant derivatives from Earth's Amazon rainforest, contain molecules that stabilize quantum fluctuations in a way your science hasn't explored. The display showed simulations of the compounds, interacting with the plague patterns. We don't claim this is a complete cure, Miller said, but our simulations show it could stabilize affected patients long enough for their natural healing processes to work. We request samples of the pathogen to test our theory. The medical delegation conferred before responding. This approach is unorthodox, but we have little to lose. The samples will be provided under strict containment protocols. Amanda addressed the full council again. We understand these challenges are complex and our solutions may seem unconventional, but that is precisely what Earth offers. The council, a fresh perspective, approaches not constrained by established thinking. We ask only for the opportunity to demonstrate our value. The Grand Arbiter raised his staff. The trials are set. The human delegation will have 7 days to demonstrate practical applications of their theories. The council stands in recess as the human delegation was escorted from the chamber. The real work began. In secure laboratories provided by the council, they unpacked equipment brought from Earth and began assembling their prototype technologies. Commander Boyd supervised the construction of the Prometheus device. This had been Earth's most closely guarded secret, a theoretical breakthrough in zero-point energy that even the council had not achieved. "This is our ace," she said quietly to Amanda as they watched the device take shape. "If this works, it proves humanity has something unique to offer." Amanda nodded, but noticed suspicious activity. Several council technicians assigned to assist them seemed more interested in documenting their work than helping. She had expected this. "We need to be careful," she whispered. "Not everyone on the council wants us to succeed in another laboratory." Miller worked with the quantum plague samples. The treatment derived from Earth rainforest compounds showed promising results in initial tests. The plague patterns appeared to stabilize when exposed to the compound. Lewis worked with council economists modeling the adaptive equity system for the trade corridor. The mathematics were complex, but the underlying principle was simple fairness through dynamic allocation rather than fixed rights. On the third-day, disaster struck. A power surge damaged the Prometheus prototype, destroying key components. The immense council chamber hummed with tension as Nancy Carter led the human delegation through the towering entranceway. The vaulted ceiling stretched hundreds of meters above them, dotted with hovering platforms containing representatives from thousands of worlds. Diplomats from across the galaxy watched from their species-specific environmental chambers, some requiring methane atmospheres, others extreme heat or cold. Enormous displays dominated the curved walls, showing images of Earth, beautiful and blue against the blackness of space. The contrast between the fragile-looking planet and the vast technological might of the council species could not have been more stark. Nancy squared her shoulders as she approached the central podium. Her 3 companions, engineering director Frank Taylor, defense analyst Maria Lopez, and cultural specialist William Davis, followed closely behind. They appeared tiny in the cavernous space but moved with determined confidence. The Grand Adjudicator, a 12-foot-tall being with luminous skin and multiple sensory organs that shifted and rotated to track movement, raised an ornate staff. The gathered assembly fell silent. "The human petition is most unusual," the adjudicator began. "Each new species typically undergoes centuries of evaluation before consideration for membership. Yet these humans request immediate recognition." Nancy stepped onto the speaker platform, which illuminated beneath her feet. "Representatives of the Galactic Council, my name is Nancy Carter, ambassador from Earth. We understand our request is unconventional, but so are the circumstances that brought us here." She activated the holographic controls and the wall displays changed to show massive alien warships in orbit around Earth, the Drellian Imperial Fleet. She explained, "They arrived in our system 6 months ago, without introduction, without following your established contact protocols. They began scanning our world, our defenses, our resources." The Drellian delegation rose from their seats. Their bodies covered in complex exoskeletons shifted colors and patterns that the translation systems identified as indignation. "This is false," the Drellian representative communicated. "We followed standard procedures for evaluating." Pre-Council World's Nancy nodded to Defense Analyst Lopez, who activated another display. "This showed intercepted communications between Drellian vessels. We may lack your level of technology," Lopez said, "but our encryption specialists are quite resourceful. These communications clearly show the Drellian command ordering resource surveys and defense assessments, while specifically instructing their fleet to avoid notifying the Council of our discovery. They classified Earth as a resource acquisition, target not as a sovereign world." The chamber erupted with sounds of surprise from some delegations, clicking mandibles, whistles, and subsonic rumbles that the humans felt more than heard. The translation system struggled to keep up with the overlapping voices order. The Grand Adjudicator struck the floor with his staff. The chamber quieted. "Is this evidence verified?" A small drone hovered over the human delegation, scanning the data records, then returned to the adjudicator. "The communications appear authentic, though we cannot verify the translation." Accuracy Cultural Specialist Davis stepped forward. "Our linguistics team can provide full verification," he offered, "and we have more evidence." He activated another display showing detailed scans of Drellian mining operations already underway in Earth's asteroid belt. "The Drellians began extracting resources from our system without permission or notification," Davis explained. "They established bases on several of our outer moons. No formal contact was attempted." The Drellian representative flashed patterns of blue and green. "The asteroid belt is not claimed territory under Council law. Pre-Council worlds are only recognized to control their immediate planetary vicinity." Engineering Director Taylor responded. "That would be true if the Drellians had properly registered their discovery with the Council, but they did not. By Council Regulation 759, unregistered discoveries cannot be exploited until proper protocols are followed." Nancy watched as various delegations conferred among themselves. The political currents in the chamber were complex. Some species clearly disapproved of the Drellian actions. Others seemed indifferent. A few appeared actively hostile toward the human presence. Meridian Collective rose next, their crystalline bodies refracting light in hypnotic patterns. While these protocol violations are concerning, they do not justify immediate Council membership, they communicated. "Most species undergo generations of guidance before consideration." Nancy nodded respectfully. "Under normal circumstances, we would welcome a gradual integration period, but the Drellian incursion has forced our hand. We cannot accept protectorate status when it is clear that some Council members view Earth as merely a resource world to be exploited." The Volnari delegation, tall, slender beings with skin like burnished copper, addressed the assembly. "The humans make a compelling case about protocol violations," they stated, "but Council membership requires significant technological, cultural, and biological benchmarks. The humans have not demonstrated sufficient advancement." This was the opening Nancy had been waiting for. She gestured and new images appeared on the display. These showed various human technologies, achievements, and cultural artifacts. "We have reviewed the historical records provided during initial information exchange," she said. "What we found was surprising. For a species at our approximate technological level, our cultural, biological, and cognitive diversity is unusual." The display shifted, showing graphs and comparative analyses. Most Council species evolved toward uniformity. Nancy explained specialized for specific environmental niches and developing unified cultural paradigms. Humans, by contrast, evolved as generalists. Our planet contains extreme environmental variations from Arctic tundra to equatorial rainforests, from mountain peaks to ocean depths. We adapted not by specializing, but by developing extraordinary flexibility. Cultural specialist Davis added, "Our species maintains over 7,000 distinct languages, thousands of religious and philosophical traditions, dozens of political systems, and countless artistic expressions. This diversity is not a weakness but our greatest strength." The Volnari representative tilted its copper head. "How does this justify Council membership?" Engineering Director Taylor stepped forward. Innovation, he said simply. Our analysis of Council technological development shows a clear pattern. Most advances occur at species transition points when new members join, bringing fresh perspectives. After integration, innovation slows dramatically, as thinking patterns align with Council standards. Nancy gestured to a new display showing human scientific advancement. Our scientists reviewed the technical specifications provided during information exchange and identified numerous potential improvements to Council technologies, not because we're smarter, but because we think differently. We approach problems from unique angles developed in isolation, from Council-influenced defense, Analyst Lopez added. And while we regret the military aspects of our history, our strategic and tactical doctrines evolved fighting other humans, not external threats. This created approaches to security and conflict resolution that differ fundamentally from Council doctrine. The Grand Adjudicator considered this. We have heard similar claims from other species seeking membership. What evidence can you provide of this unique perspective? Nancy had anticipated this question. We propose a demonstration. She said, give us 3 problems that have resisted Council solution. We will apply human methodology to each. If our solutions demonstrate merit, we ask for provisional membership with a pathway to full status. The chamber filled with the sounds of discussion, translation systems working overtime to keep up with thousands of simultaneous conversations. The Grand Adjudicator conferred with senior representatives before responding. An interesting proposal, he said. The Council will select 3 problems of significant complexity. Should your solutions prove viable, your petition will receive serious consideration. Nancy felt a small surge of hope. This was their chance, but before she could respond, the chamber entrance opened dramatically. All heads turned as a new delegation entered. The newcomers were tall, bipedal with gray skin, and eyes that glowed with internal light. The Council chamber fell completely silent. The architects, the Grand Adjudicator, announced, his voice carrying a note of surprise. Nancy glanced at her team. The architects had been mentioned in the preliminary data they received. Ancient and incredibly advanced, they were founding members of the Council but rarely appeared at proceedings. The lead architect glided forward and spoke in a voice that seemed to bypass the translation systems appearing directly in each listener's mind. We have observed these proceedings with interest. The human petition deserves consideration, but not through trivial problem-solving tests. We propose a different evaluation. The Grand Adjudicator bowed deeply. The Council acknowledges the wisdom of the architects. What evaluation do you suggest? The architect turned its glowing gaze toward the human delegation. We have studied Earth for some time. The humans possess qualities rare among spacefaring species. They maintain cognitive diversity even as they advance. Technologically, their social structures encourage rather than suppress divergent thinking. Their adaptability exceeds Council standard metrics. Nancy struggled to maintain her diplomatic composure. The architects had been watching Earth. How long had they influenced human development? The architect continued. We propose the humans be granted provisional status immediately and assigned. The Council chamber fell silent as Laura Kelly stepped onto the central platform. Her heart pounded in her chest, but her expression remained composed. Around her, the massive chamber stretched upward for hundreds of meters. Thousands of alien representatives watched from environmental bubbles that lined the walls, each adapted to the specific needs of different species. Some breathed methane. Others required high pressure or extreme temperatures. Behind, Laura stood her team. Marcus Reynolds, the chief scientist, Elaine Winters, the strategic analyst, and Gabriel Cooper, the cultural specialist. Together they represented humanity's final diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council. The Grand Arbiter towered above them, a being of crystalline structures and shifting light patterns that served as the Council's highest authority. The time has come for the human petition to be resolved, he announced, his voice translated into thousands of languages simultaneously. The enormous displays that circled the chamber activated, showing Earth a small blue planet spinning serenely in space. 6 standard cycles ago, the Arbiter continued, the humans of Earth requested full Council membership, an unprecedented request for a species at their development level. They were assigned. the quantum resonance cascade problem as their trial, a challenge that has resisted solution for 7,000 years. Laura stepped forward. Representatives of the council. She began. My name is Laura Kelly, final ambassador from Earth. We come before you today to present our findings on the quantum resonance cascade. The Zinthari delegation rose, their bodies covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors with their emotions. This is a waste of council resources, they stated through translators. The humans were given an impossible problem as a diplomatic courtesy. No one expected an actual solution. Laura nodded to Chief Scientist Reynolds, who activated the holographic controls. The display changed, showing complex mathematical equations and multidimensional models. What we discovered was surprising, Reynolds began. The quantum resonance cascade is not a natural phenomenon. It is an engineered system. A wave of sounds rippled through the chamber. Some species clicked mandibles. Others emitted subsonic rumbles of surprise. The cascade exhibits mathematical patterns consistent with designed technology. Reynolds continued. It is not random quantum fluctuation but a deliberate network that spans multiple sectors of space strategic. Analyst Winters stepped forward. Our analysis suggests the cascade was created approximately 15,000 years ago. She said the timing correlates with the Great Silence in Council historical records. The chamber erupted in sounds of alarm and disbelief. The Great Silence was a mysterious period in galactic history when multiple civilizations had seemingly disappeared simultaneously. The Council rarely discussed this dark chapter. The Grand Arbiter struck his resonant staff against the floor, sending harmonics through the chamber that quieted the assembly. Explain your evidence, he demanded. Reynolds activated a different display showing energy patterns mapped across hundreds of star systems. We identified a recurring pattern in the quantum fluctuations, he explained. These are not random but appear to be a form of encoded information. When we applied human cryptographic techniques developed during our global conflicts, we found structural similarities to communication protocols. Laura watched the reactions across the chamber. Some delegations appeared shocked, others skeptical. A few seemed actively hostile. The architect delegation, normally silent observers, sat forward with obvious interest. The Zinthari representative flashed, patterns of deep red indicating skepticism or anger. Even if this wild theory were true, what possible solution could you offer? The cascade has resisted our best technology for millennia. Laura nodded to cultural specialist Cooper, who stepped forward. The solution required understanding the purpose of the system, not just its mechanisms, he explained. He activated a new display showing what appeared to be a three-dimensional language structure. We believe the quantum resonance cascade is not a problem to be fixed, but a communication system to be properly accessed, he said. Our linguistics team recognized patterns similar to mathematical languages developed on Earth. What appeared as destructive resonance was actually signal degradation, like static. On a channel, the Laresian delegation. Translucent beings composed primarily of organized energy fields rose. What is this system communicating with? Laura took center stage again. That is the most significant discovery. We believe the cascade was created by the precursor civilizations as a warning system. The encoded message contains astronomical coordinates and temporal markers. The display shifted, showing star charts with specific regions highlighted. These coordinates point to regions just beyond the Council's explored territory. Laura continued. The temporal markers indicate an event or arrival predicted to occur approximately 50 years from now. The chamber fell completely silent. Strategic Analyst Winters continued. Based on our decoding of the message fragments, we believe the precursors created this system to warn of something they called the Void Harbingers, a force or species that arrives in cycles of roughly 20,000 years. The Grand Arbiter conferred with senior representatives before addressing the human delegation. This is a disturbing claim, Ambassador. What evidence supports this interpretation? Reynolds activated another display showing comparative data. The message fragments contain references to similar events in the deep past, he explained, approximately 20,000 years before the Great Silence. Another wave of civilizations disappeared from regions now considered empty space. The pattern suggests cyclical visitations. Laura could see the impact of their words rippling through the chamber. Some delegations appeared frightened, others disbelieving. Many conferred urgently among themselves. The architect delegation rose, drawing all eyes in the chamber. These humans speak truth, their leader communicated, directly into the minds of all present. We have suspected elements of this for millennia, but lacked the perspective to decode the message fully. The precursors left warnings across the galaxy in various forms. The quantum resonance cascade is but one. The Grand Arbiter seemed shaken. Most honored architects, you knew of this threat. The architect leader made a gesture that somehow conveyed both affirmation and regret. We knew something had caused the great silence. We suspected the cascade contained information. But our thinking patterns evolved along paths similar to the precursors. We could not see what they could not see. The humans, with their unique cognitive evolution, could recognize patterns invisible to us. Laura felt a momentary surge of pride, tinged with fear. If the architects were confirming their findings, the situation was as grave as they had feared. Cultural specialist Cooper activated a new display. "We believe we can recalibrate the cascade system," he said. "Using protocols derived from our decoding work, we can enhance the signal clarity and extract the complete message." The fragmented warning suggests the precursors developed defensive measures, but could not implement them fully before the arrival of the Void Harbingers. "That information may be crucial." The Grand Arbiter addressed the full council. "The human findings must be evaluated with utmost priority. If verified, this changes the security posture of the entire council." Laura stepped forward again. "Representatives of the council," she said, "Earth did not seek this responsibility. We came seeking recognition and protection, finding ourselves instead at the center of a crisis that predates our civilization. But we offer our full cooperation. Our scientists, engineers, and military strategists stand ready to work alongside council experts. This threat, if real, concerns all sentient life." The Zinthari representative flashed colors of suspicion. "How convenient that these humans discover a threat only they can help address. This feels like manipulation." Laura met the representative's gaze directly. "Earth has nothing to gain from fabricating such findings," she responded. "We are a vulnerable world with limited defenses. If we wished to join the council through deception, we would have invented a less terrifying scenario. The evidence is available for your own experts to verify." The architect leader addressed the council directly. "The humans have proven themselves. Their unique perspective revealed what we could not perceive. Their cognitive diversity is precisely what the council requires in this moment of crisis. We support immediate provisional membership." The chamber filled with the sounds of urgent discussion. The Grand Arbiter conferred with senior representatives. Before raising his staff for silence, "The council must deliberate on these extraordinary findings and their implications for our security. We will recess for comprehensive evaluation. The human delegation will remain to provide technical assistance to our scientists." As the formal session ended, Laura and her team were surrounded by scientific delegations from dozens of species, all requesting access to their decoding methods and findings. The mood had shifted from skepticism to urgent cooperation. "Elaine." Winters moved closer to Laura, speaking quietly. "We expected them to be surprised, but not this level of reaction," she whispered. "The architects confirming our findings changed everything." Laura nodded, watching as Reynolds began sharing technical data. With council scientists, the architect's intervention was unexpected, but their confirmation suggests our interpretation is correct. The Void Harbingers are real, and they're coming.